Hey, welcome to this episode of Guide Therapy. I'm Michael. I share my knowledge of musical gear solutions which are cheaper and better in my opinion. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you wouldn't miss my future updates. Today I'm gonna show you my workflow preference while pairing Koala Sampler with pad-only controllers, especially with my Korg NanoPad 2. You know, give you an SP404 feel for cheap. And again, I'm not sponsored by anyone. It's purely from my passion of gear solution exploration. Let's get into it. When you're finding a controller for a sampler, you will always think about a multi-bank 16-pad controller and map those buttons to the sampler to finger drum with. But actually with Koala Sampler, you can do more than that. You can even design your own workflow with those limited pads. And here is my take. This is my Korg NanoPad 2. It has 4 banks of 16 pads. Or should I say 4 scenes of 16 pads. If you only map them into Koala's sample page, then you will find yourself always reach back to the touch screen during your beat making process. So what I did is I turned 4 banks into 2 categories, which are pad banks and sequence banks. For pad bank, I map these 4 pads into transport control, which are record, play, tempo, and clear, which is actually a erase if you're an MPC head. I prefer to use clear to delete recorded notes in the sequence. And for these 4 pads, I already set them sending MIDI-CC signal and their button behavior into momentary in the control editor from the manufacturer, except the tempo one is in toggle mode. And for these 12 pads, I mapped them into 3 bottom rows of pads in Koala's sample page. You know, SP404 only have 12 pads in a bank, which makes perfect sense to me. And for sequence bank, I remain these 2 pads the same with pad banks, which are play and record. The reason I did this is that no matter which bank I switched into, these 2 pads will provide the same function constantly. And for these 2 pads, since I'm already in sequence mode, I don't need to toggle tempo and delete a sound that frequently. But I do have to change the bar length a lot, like every time I start a new project or a new sequence. So I'll definitely map them into increase 1 bar length and decrease 1 bar length. Do you agree with me? And for these 8 pads, I mapped them into 8 sequences in Koala's sequence page because they share the same layout with each other. And for the last 4 pads, I set them into MIDI-CC momentary mode and mapped them into gate, which is actually a secret mute function in Koala, stutter, talkbox, and lastly, dub. What's more is NanoPad 2 also has a XY pad right here. It controls 2 parameters with a single click, which I find really hard to map into Koala. So I decided to turn off the X-axis parameter, only leave the Y-axis parameter, and map it into filter. You might want to use the X-axis parameter because it has a little more trouble to fine-tune with your effect. But to me, the Y movement is actually a lot more intuitive. So this is my decision. And for 4 banks of pads, I set bank 1 and 2 into Koala's sample page 1, 2, and bank 3 and 4 into Koala's sequence page 1, 2. Therefore, you will have 24 pads and 16 sequences on hand to mess around, which is more than enough. And I also set my NanoPad 2 shares the same MIDI signal value with my Nano control for the same mapping function, so I don't have to change Koala's MIDI mapping settings if I'm switching between devices. As you can see, with my mapping method, you can maximize the workflow on this cheap and simple pad-only controller with Koala Sampler. And I shared all my thoughtful little details behind this idea, so that now you can do it all by yourself. But if you want to save your time and a lot of effort, you can download the setting file for NanoPad 2 and the Koala project for this video if you become my Patreon. I put a lot of time and work on my videos. If my video helped, I hope you can support me and support my channel through Patreon to keep me rocking. I also share other goodies every week there. Link in the description. Go check it out. So, that's it for today's video. Leave a comment if you have any question. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more musical gear solutions which are cheaper and better, in my opinion. I'm Michael. This is Guys Therapy. See you in the next one. Peace. Three bottom rows of pads in Koala. And for this, leave a comment if you have